Hi, I'm Ron James, Real Estate's Most Wanted. On behalf of Stone Mill Developments, your dream home awaits you. Well, welcome. This is really our first step, is lot preparation. And let's say you're going through your design build process and you've decided that this is the lot we're going to build on. Well, we need to do a couple of things first. One of the first things that we're going to need to do is to get a site plan of the property. We have a surveyor come out and they're looking at easements, the lot definitions, etc. We'll probably have to establish some hoarding, which is some kind of, you've seen that orange fence or you've seen skids that are around a property, that defines our building area. We'll probably have to have an arborist report, depending on the city that you're in. They'll look at not only the property that you're on, but all of the surrounding properties as well. They're doing a tree study to find out what, if any, are there as an endangered species on the property, trees that you can or can't take down, and if it's a city property, what they'll have to charge you as possible deposits in the event of any damage to that particular tree. The trees actually have their own hoarding that go around them as well. Once we've defined the site that way, then of course it's demolition day. That means that the house comes down, and it comes down usually in about 15 minutes with the great big sweep of the crane, and off it goes. Challenge is, in a lot of cases, we get people to ask us, can we take down our own house? Well, the answer is kind of yes and kind of no. What you have to understand when we're doing a demolition is the fact that the material has to be separated. So wood goes one way, brick goes another way, and really that's what you're paying for in demolition. It's not so much the cost of actually just knocking it down, because that takes just a mere 10-15 minutes, but it's the removal. Where does that debris go? In many cases, it doesn't even stay in Ontario. It gets shipped elsewhere, sometimes stateside. So we now have our lot looked after. It's now just a clean piece of land. We're going to excavate out the hole. So we've now determined how that actually looks. When you see the dirt removed, we pull up a lot of dirt, and you're going to go, man, is my house really going to be that big? And the reality is we need to be able to have an appropriate amount of space to pour the foundation and the footings for your house. Stone Mill is very concerned with water management, so you'll see that we actually dig down to what we call virgin soil, which is roughly about the 7-foot level. And we're going to look at putting our forms in for foundation. Well, if building code for a cement wall, like you'd see throughout here, is 8 inches, Stone Mill pours a 10-inch wall, and then of course puts its weeping tile and water management system around it. One of the reasons that we pour a 10-inch wall is that in many cases, at the time of build, we're being asked by the client to finish off the basement area, and we do that at a cost of about $40 a square foot finished. And that gives you the same kind of ideas that you would see on the second and third floors, which is drywall, flooring, etc. throughout the house. Because we're aware of the fact that we're pouring this 10-inch wall, we realize that we need to do that so that if we've finished the basement, we don't want to have to come back in the event of a leak or some kind of water problem because of the basement. So we're very conscientious about, after that foundation's been poured, putting in our water management system, which is our weeping tile. That's in the periphery of the property, goes all the way around. And in the case of something like a window well, we're actually putting in something called a French drain. And that French drain really is, looks like weeping tile material. It's a hose that ties into the weeping tile, and it comes all the way up right underneath the window well. It's a perforated hose. It also has gravel filling it, and there's a sock around it. So in the event that the window well was filled with debris or whatever the case may be, this French drain acts as a secondary system to allow water to have a place to escape and move away from the property. Part of our water management system, again, is that the grading of the lot itself. We want to make sure that the lot is actually kind of got a high point and slides off to the sides so that water doesn't accumulate around the foundation. Water and the foundation is not a good combination. So when we're close to a lake, in the case where we are in Burlington or in Oakville, we're very conscientious of how close we are. So that 7-foot level is really what we do to basically make sure that water doesn't sit around the foundation. So once we've got the walls poured, we can start looking at some of the engineering as far as the joists that you'll see up through here. And stone mill's standard is what you see in these engineered joists that are here. If you've heard of the silent floor, this is the silent floor type of joists that we use. This allows us to have a span of a maximum of 21 feet. So to kind of get rid of those nice little brown metal poles that you see in the basement, we're able to kind of congregate those poles in a very small area to make sure that there's lots of open area in the basement for pool tables or finishing off the basement for family rooms, media rooms, whatever. We have a secondary option, which is an upgrade for stone mill, which is allowing us to do an open web joist. So it's kind of like a roof truss, if you will, but in the height and shape of a joist. Now, there is an upgrade for that. It's approximately $6,000. But what it allows us to do is to run a lot of the engineering. So we'll have electrical, plumbing, our heating and ventilation systems. We can run it right through the open web. Again, it's also a silent floor system. It means the floors don't creak or squeak. Then, of course, the plywood subfloor goes on top of that. When we're actually pouring in a basement situation, one of the features that stone mill has as an upgrade, we don't have that many upgrades, but the couple that we do have really kind of make a quality of life something that you may want to consider. We have one which is called a walk-up basement, and we realize that lot permission or lot grading permission really doesn't have everybody being able to have a walkout, so we've created one. We've been able to kind of create a bowl around the foundation area and hold back the earth with armor stone and putting in limestone steps on the way up. We learned this particular process from one of our clients that was having it done, but we basically just dug the hole. So we put the doorway out, French door out, nice window on the side, and because we had nothing holding back the earth would slide down and come against the glass, breaking the doors, etc. So we were asking the client, how much was this costing them to have this done when it was all said and finished? And they said about $25,000, and we knew we could do better and pass those savings on to our client. So we were using armor stone versus just landscape rock. One is really the weight of that and being able to hold back the earth so there's no shifting. So in our walk-up basements or our half walk-up basements, we actually use large armor stone, which can only be put in by something very heavy. Our little Bobcat can't carry that stone, so it's obviously at the time that we pour the foundation that we put in that proper bowl. We put in the proper amount of armor stone so that it holds back the earth. There's not going to be any shifting there. We also put a layer of 4 feet of gravel that goes down there, again with another drainage system tied into our weeping tile so that we can kind of make sure that the water management is continued throughout the property. In this particular home, we've actually even done a finish coat and drain cap that you could see. So at the very bottom of the staircase, you would see that there would be this platform of concrete that's sitting on top of 4 feet of gravel. This really makes an element for the cost of $16,000 or $17,000 for this feature, just something that really sets off the backyard. And especially if you're putting in a pool, this is a wonderful way to actually have people come down into the entertainment center. You may have your pool table down here, your media room, possibly a secondary kitchen or a party room in the basement area. What I have behind me while we're in our basement situation is the electrical panel. And as you can see, code these days is a 200 amp panel. And you're seeing it all set up through here. When we actually have the house wired, really there's a couple of plans. As we walk through the rest of the house, we'll talk a little bit about the light engineering, where lights turn on, where they turn off, where they terminate, etc. And we want to make sure that you can really feel like if I'm walking through my bedroom, can I turn off the front hall light? So you'll see it through a plan that we're going to walk through. It's not unusual for you to see the Cat 5 wiring. A lot of times we're having people come in there and talking about Cat 9 wiring so that the house is Wi-Fi ready for your home and enjoyment. We also do some runs here. What you're seeing is a lot of times we'll get radio companies, people who do home stereos, etc., that'll pre-wire the house for a home theater system, etc., both up and lower, and also for satellite. And what you're seeing here is all of these termination points, these home runs, that allow you to have satellite feed right from if it's individual bedrooms, rather than having just one station where everybody has to watch Dad's football game. Now, by running the home runs, we can actually isolate satellite as well if you wanted to do something like that. One of the reasons that we've actually suggested that the open web design be something that you consider, as mentioned, $6,000 as an upgrade, is because we can run all of these lines, all of the electrical, all of the plumbing, all of the HVAC, right through each of those individual floor joists. There's very little cutting, saves the integrity of what's actually happening, and away we go. What also happens is that there is a minimizing of the waste that happens here. The reason why is because, like these engineered joists that come in, or the open web, they actually clip in, as opposed to putting in just 2x10 or 2x6 construction, or whatever the case may be, where we have to cut ends and have debris and material loss at the back end of that. As far as the plumbing, what you'll see in this particular house, and something that's standard with stone mill, is that we're using the flex plumbing, the IPEX plumbing that you see through here. And it's an insulated PVC tube that comes through. And people say, well, is that something as strong as copper? And it's as strong, if not stronger than copper. If you've ever kind of done any kind of repair work in your bathroom and hung that bathroom mirror and heard the sound of that psss as you've hit the copper piping with a screw or a nail, you realize that, I thought it was going to be tougher than that. But one of the reasons that we've actually employed the flex tubing that you see for our water management system in the house is so that you don't have those elbows. And that's typically where those little brackets are here, is where air gathers and you get that hammering sound, that ta 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 ta. And of course, if we're moving around a box, etc., we have to kind of put a number of elbows in to create that flexibility with copper plumbing. So with the flex tube, we can do it without creating any kind of airlock or damage within how our houses are built. So you'll notice it through. It's not like that we've used an inferior product. As a matter of fact, quite the opposite. We've used a superior product. And certainly for your home comfort, you'll find that as well. Okay, so our furnace system, the heating system that you see behind me here, is a Bryant heating system. And Bryant, so that you understand, is the commercial grade or the builder grade of the Carrier air conditioning, Carrier furnace systems. Now this is a closed combustion, high efficiency service that you see here behind us. And we also employ two additional pieces to it. Our air cleaner is an April air cleaner and also an April air humidifier that is on the furnace. And these systems are tied in with our air conditioning system. Typically how we rate that is about a ton per 1,000 square feet of house. And this particular home is about 5,000 square feet, so there would be a 5-ton system that would actually service as air conditioning with this Bryant system. Sometimes we're asked about ceiling height in the basement. People are looking for, say, a 9-foot ceiling. I understand why the question is. In many cases, they're trying to do a home theater, room downstairs. They just really want to make the room quite dramatic. Now, there's a couple of challenges with that. Not saying that we can't do it, but there's a couple of ways that we can do it. We're already down 7 feet as it is, and that pretty much is our coverage. This allows us to build on virgin soil, and anything shy of going under that, we might be running into rock, which would have to blast, or in the case of water, and you'd have an indoor pool that you may or may not decide that you want. So if we're going to go higher, it means we have to come out of the ground. So we can do that. What it does do, though, if you have a building envelope or a height restriction, that 2 feet or that foot you're coming out of the ground cuts into that. So if you wanted, say, a 10-foot main floor and a 9-foot second floor, you're going to eat into that by coming out of the ground for your 9-foot basement. As it is, Stone Mill's basement is 95 inches, and that's a clearing of 95 inches. And that doesn't include, in some cases, some of our HVAC or our heating systems that you have here. But for the most part, for the finished areas, for home theaters, for accessory apartments, or whatever the case you're doing in the basement area, 95 inches clear would give you enough headroom, I think, for you to do a lot of the things that you want to do. If we do go out of the, come out of the ground, if we come up that foot that you were looking for, or 1.5 feet you're looking for, what that does, if we have porches, and in many cases our designs do have that, they will be outside of the comfort level of the city's bylaw. That basically means that they're out of the ground by 24 inches. Anything that's 24 inches off the ground has to have a secondary step and has to have a railing around porches. So you decide. We can certainly do that. We can come out of the ground a foot, but we have to put railings all the way around the porches. Typically, our comfort level is to be able to put one step down to grade so that you don't have to have the railing on the porches. You can just basically step down and you're there. Behind me is our windows in the basement, usually for code, and certainly if you're doing some kind of in-law suite, granny suite, nanny suite downstairs, 2 foot by 2 foot is a minimum code. So you'll see that we actually have these windows here. It's just really a point of egress if somebody is in the basement area. And if you plan to use it for multiple purposes, like the family room or the theater room, etc., you want to be able to have a secondary fire exit. If you can't go out through a door, if you don't have the walk-up basement, and there's only one egress into the basement through the main part of the house, these other multiple points of egress allow you to kind of get out. We're looking at this platoon membrane as well, and this usually goes all the way around the property. Behind it, in many cases, we're using a parging, a waterproofing parging that goes in to make sure, again, everything's tied into water management. With the exteriors of the stone mill homes, a number of things are standard. What you're typically seeing, because of the stone mill name, is a stucco and stone finish. Now, do you have to have that? No, certainly where the stucco is being visible here, you can use something like brick. You could use a composite material called a hardy board, which comes in a number of different types of finishes, kind of like a clapboard finish or a cedar shake finish, or even a scalloped shake finish on here. You can do away with the stone, or you could use natural stone. This particular man-made stone that you see through here is a very consistent stone. Shoal Ice has provided it for us. It's actually put on very similar to a brick that you would see. However, what we have the ability to do is to create different textures and different stylings. So a couple of things can happen where we can do a different mix, a color mix, where there's some darker and some lighter stone. It can be more in the grays or the taupes. And depending on how we actually do the finish of the mortar between each of the pieces individually. In many cases, stone mill signature is to put the mortar on with a 12 by 12 piece of carpet. What that basically does is have the stone poke out through that particular mortar. A lot of mortar mud that is actually on the stone itself. That gives it a very heritage, very historical look. Or in this particular case, because of the style and design of this house, they've actually troweled away more of that particular mortar that you see between the stone. Here's what happens with stone mill regarding lights, and this is both interior and exterior. Stone mill does not provide lighting, although we do allow you to use our supplier of lighting so that you can buy lights at a wholesale cost. But we do recommend that you allow us to do the installation of the lights. So if you have the light fixture in its entirety in a box, we can go ahead and put it where you want us to put it up. Many times our clients are coming up with vintage lighting they've got off of Craigslist or eBay. And what we're suggesting to the client is, as long as the pieces are all there, the hardware to allow us to install the light, that's all we look for. Around the sills, you see how it's actually trimmed in. In many cases, if we're actually doing any kind of caulking, we're doing a lot of things where the caulking is actually underneath sills. So there's not great big gobs of stuff that are kind of poking out or here. We're also looking at a maintenance-free exterior. So although you're seeing a wood post, etc. behind me, this would be capped in an aluminum facade so that everything on the exterior here could possibly be maintenance-free for you. We also do the soffit lights that you'll see at the top. Stone mill does provide standard at least 6 lights that you could use front, back, underneath this particular porch area, etc. That's included with the stone mill pricing. We also do 20 pot lights inside into the low voltage energy efficient lights that you see through here. And like I said, 20 is what we put in. Doesn't stop you from putting in more at a cost of roughly about $185 to $200 a pot light thereafter. Our shingles that we use is a 35-year shingle. And what that basically is, we used to use a product that was an asphalt-based shingle and a 25-year shingle. But we found that the breakdown was happening within the first 8 to 10 years. So we've moved to this composite material, and the kind of joining of the composite and the asphalt reduces a lot of the debris that comes off the shingle, etc., and gives us a longer life. In many cases, our homes are situated in a lot of landscape, so there's a lot of trees, a lot of debris that falls, etc. And what you're seeing is a difference in the way that the shingle is standing up under that pounding away of trees and sticks and debris. It is something that stone mill does on a fairly regular basis, and pretty much all of our designs is to put in a porch that you see off the back, and possibly one in the front. But these ones run anywhere from 22 to 26 feet. They're anywhere from 11 to 14 feet wide. there is a full foundation underneath this particular porch as well, so that becomes the cantina, and I realize this is quite the large cantina, but it is there. So this isn't just sitting on a slab. Again, as we talked about, one of the reasons why we don't like to kind of pop out of the ground too far is because you'll notice that there's no railings. There'll be no railings on this particular porch at all, so that we'll have one step down to grade so that your guests can enjoy it. You'll also see how we handle and manage our garden door, our sliding door systems here on the back. This extra space is becoming so utilized where you step right from the family room onto the porch level, and it just doubles the size for entertaining. We've actually seen many of our clients take what we deliver here with a smooth concrete finish and actually go to something of a tile, a terrazzo tile, or you're actually seeing limestone being put down here as an additional finish on top of that. Any of those additional finishes would be an extra charge. We leave it in the smooth concrete finish. You can certainly kind of put down the exterior rugs that you see that are designed for patios, etc., just to change the dynamic here in the back. So now we're on the main part of the house, and really, in Stone Mill's eyes, the kitchen is the heart of the design. This is really where everything starts. Stone Mill really has an interesting look at how housing has kind of transformed over the last 14 years they've been building. And one of the things that we have found is that that main floor, that first floor, really still has to have lots of elbow room. So in many cases, the kitchen you see behind me is about an 18-foot by 18-foot kitchen that allows for a number of different things. We actually have, in many cases, a 3x6 or a 4x8 center island that goes in. In the kitchen design, basically what we're doing is we work with 3 different companies, and we recommend that you have a chance to speak to these companies and do some of your own homework. And how Stone Mill handles kitchens, cabinetry, any kind of countertops, etc., is that we provide a $32,000 gift card, if you will, allowance for kitchen cabinetry and counters. Now, in our mind, that's wholesale. So the 3 recommended suppliers that we give you understand that they are working from a wholesale cost when they work with our $32,000 credit. In many cases, they do compete for the business, and in many of those instances, they actually provide some kitchen design work as well. Now, you'll see a two-tone situation that's through here. That's something that's actually happening more and more in Stone Mill homes, where it's not just a light kitchen, a dark kitchen, in cases you're seeing here of the two-tone effect. Now, this particular kitchen, this is an example of one where the client has added some extra pieces. I think in cabinetry alone, they're about $54,000. So they're certainly outside their $32,000 allowance. And that doesn't include their countertops, where it would be granite. Now, that's not to say that if you wanted to spend a little bit more money, you can certainly do so. What we try to do at Stone Mill is actually give you a bottom line contract. This is the price it's going to cost to build. And we realize a lot of people get caught in the, oh, what's the real price? How much are the overages? In many cases, it's almost forecasted to be somewhere between 10 and 15% higher than that finalized builder's price. In our particular case, just while we're on the topic, in 2008, we were about $14,000 on average over our final contract price, which still, when you're building a $1 million house, is limited. It's closer to 1% as opposed to 10 or 15%. In 2009, we've actually been doing some calculations here, and we're sitting at about $24,000 worth of overages. And one of the reasons why homeowners are going out to home shows and trade shows and looking at different suppliers, etc., just really doing a lot of homework, and they're seeing extra finishes while they're building their house that they like to include in it. So in this particular house, you'll see a home stereo system that's built in for their theater system that's going to be in the family room area. Well, that's not something that Stone Mill provides. They actually had, in many cases, Stone Mill does get requests from alarm companies, AV companies that are coming in and hardwiring the house for these treatments, but it's not something that we actually provide. The kitchen itself, you have a lot of elbow room on how that is actually situated. We really look at creating space in that kitchen. So between the counters and that island, we find that there's room for 2 bodies to walk through, and the reason why is because many of our clients, they tell us in the design process when we're sitting down with them that this is really the heart of their home. This is where most of their family congregates, this is where most of their friends congregate, and they want this open concept. So in this particular case, you see kitchen, an eat-in area, right into a big open family room. And then from the offset, what usually happens through the kitchen area is that stone mill really has an idea that the garage should be reasonably close to the kitchen. Usually you're coming in with bags, groceries, etc. So you'll see in a lot of designs, if possible, that our garage may kind of connect with a mudroom or a laundry room from the garage right into the kitchen. So it's a very short distance. It gets you in with the groceries and situates it down. In a lot of designs, stone mill will also incorporate, if possible in the design, and certainly with your permission, a butler's pantry, a small servery area where there would be some cabinetry, uppers and lowers, a countertop at this point, so that you had this kind of break point between the kitchen and the dining room. And you didn't have to, if you didn't already have one, have a large hutch taking up space in the dining room. From the front door, in many cases the front door is a pivot point for you coming into your home. In our experience, we've had people that have used a oak door, etc., and a door system like that could cost possibly anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 or more. In a lot of cases, we're able to offer the client a composite look. So once that is stained and finished properly, you'd have a really tough time looking at the difference between that oak door and the composite that we actually provide or can provide for you. The difference in cost, composite's about $2,000. That oak door system is $8,000 to $10,000. The difference is as well with the wood door, the oak door, you would actually see that because it's wood, it would actually swell, shrink, etc. So in some cases it would stick, in other cases it would look like it was loose, whereas the composite is consistently, it functions and operates on a regular basis. Stone mill does like to build a 10-foot ceiling on our first floor, where possible. In a lot of the cases where we build, we're looking at, say, the Oakville or the Burlington area, we have height restrictions on how high we can actually build that house. So in the case of Oakville, for example, we're at a 9-meter ceiling, which is just under 30 feet. And in the Burlington area, we're just under 33 feet. So it allows us to have this 10-foot ceiling. What that happens in, as far as the look, the grandeur of the way the house is, we have an upgrade package for people who want to take advantage of that. Our millwork and our casings, etc., standard with stone mill is a 6-inch baseboard, 3-inch door casing, and 7-foot height door. And we would actually suggest to you, if you're going to go with those standard options, that you might want to consider some transom windows above the headers of the door, etc., just to kind of make sure that the door doesn't look small against a 10-foot ceiling. Or our upgrade is an additional $4 a square foot. We go to an 8-inch baseboard, a 4-inch casing, we go to an 8-foot door, and we actually put in a solid core door. And you can definitely feel the weight of a solid core door. And that 8-foot door against the 10-foot ceiling really, again, creates grandeur, height. There's some real, opulence the way that actually works and functions. A part of that $4 a square foot would include some of the different treatments like crown molding. We will do crown molding in one room for you. In most cases, people take advantage of it in the dining room, and it is a plaster crown molding. So it's not MDF, it's not wood, it's not plastic that's going in there. It's real plaster. As is the medallion if you choose to do it. And we will also do a wainscoting to half or 3/4 of the wall. And of course, all of that millwork and trim is included in the $4 a square foot. On the secondary floor, it would be the regular standard size of the 7-foot doors upstairs. So in cases of finishes on the floor, we're in the foyer of the house here. A lot of times people are looking at, do they go to a stone or a natural stone look here in the foyer? In many cases, what we're doing is 3 options for flooring. We have hardwood, which we can do anywhere and everywhere. We're also looking at porcelain or ceramic, or a mix of the 3. You don't have to be limited to those choices. If you wanted to go to a natural stone or a limestone front or some kind of marble, we can certainly do that. A couple of situations that we have related to that. We do have a tile supplier. Again, it's wholesale. You get to go there and pick your floor finishes. Are you stuck to those particular areas? Not necessarily so, but please keep in mind that in some cases, the tile you love may not be something that the tile supplier has or has ready available. And if there's going to be a delay, it's going to push your whole design build back early or late. So the idea is to think about and plan ahead to make sure that you know if you have 200 square feet area that you can get that tile and you can have it on time, because nothing is more agonizing than someone telling you 6 to 8 weeks back order, because in real life it's got to be easily twice that. So when we're doing the flooring, how do we do hardwood? We can actually put down a wood floor and stain and finish on site, or we can use a pre-finished wood strip floor that goes down. We use a higher end flooring, and the reason why is that if we use a lower grade, and especially if the floor is going to be dark, stain is something kind of like an equalizer. It makes a lesser grade quality still look good until you go for installation. As soon as our installation process kicks into place, we know what kind of quality of wood we have, because as they snap together, they will also crack. That would mean that we have to strip the floor and refinish. So we tend to say if you're going to go to a pre-finished floor, we're going to go to a higher grade. We'll recommend a couple of suppliers to you, a couple of brand names that we like, that we've trusted, that actually when they go down well. The floors feel good, look good, and really at the end, that's what you're all about. If you're going to some kind of natural finish that's here, say possibly a limestone finish, right? Limestone's a bit of softer stone. One, it actually has a higher installation cost. It's very much like a puzzle. It has to be assembled and put down. And it also requires a number of sealing coats on it so that that scratch coat prevents any kind of fine scratches. Limestone just typically has that kind of feel. So a little bit of grit on the shoes if someone's coming in the door could scratch that particular tile. Whereas the porcelain and the ceramic is a hardier, more sturdy product. And this isn't known as ceramics anymore. It's not shiny and 10 by 10 inch. In some cases, you're seeing a 24 inch by 24 inch. You wouldn't know that it wasn't slate, flagstone, fieldstone coming in here. It actually has changed the look of how flooring goes down and actually is family friendly. So our staircases that you see behind me here, Stone Mill puts in a standard staircase of a 48 inch, so it's 4 feet wide. This particular staircase they've actually had custom built so that the risers are a little wider, so they're 11 inch. So you're seeing this depth here. It is an oak or a maple finish. It can be stained to match the floor coloring if you're looking for that way, but in most cases you're seeing the staircases assembled this way. They're wider to allow furniture, they're wider to allow a little bit more stability, etc. We actually have a number of different spindle finishes. You have a choice of up to, say, 10 that are available, and you can actually stagger them out. Some cases, in this particular case, because there are 11-inch risers in the width, they're putting 3 different types of spindles. So 2 kind of a plain spindle and 1 decorative in the middle. And they would do that all the way up. Stone Mill, by nature, isn't not necessarily a feng shui company. However, in our design, it just so happens that almost every way we've built a staircase in the 70-plus houses that we've built has always been where it comes down to a landing, or it twists, or it turns, or it lands into a family room, etc. It never goes directly out the door. And I don't know if you know much about feng shui. I don't certainly, I'm not an expert, but I've been told that anytime a staircase comes straight down and out the door, so goes your money. So we keep the money in the house. So in our drywall, you will see these rounded edges on the drywall. One of our clients long ago decided that this was something that they liked. We actually like the result of the finish as well, and it's become a standard feature with Stone Mill. So these are called Venetian corners. So now we're on the second floor. We happen to be in the master bedroom of this fine Stone Mill home. And I want to talk about a couple of different features that we look to do where possible. If you notice, and you will see that the ceilings in this particular room are coffered, so that they actually are recessed into the roof line. In many cases with the Stone Mill design, we try to make use of that ceiling height. So rather than just leave it as kind of insulation and air, we try to move up into that particular area. So if we can cathedral into that, a tray ceiling, or actually coffer the ceiling as you've seen here, we try to do that. This really gives a different element, a different feel, some character to the room, and why not? You have the space to be able to do it. Stone Mill, or predominantly Paul Rabeau, our owner, is a bit of a romantic at heart. So if he can actually get a fireplace in the master bedroom with your permission, he typically does. What you're seeing behind me is, again, another door system that is here. This would be no deck. This would be a Juliet door, so you would actually see a balcony all the way around this. This would allow this door system to open up and for you to take advantage of this wonderful ravine lot. This particular piece of property is a half-acre piece of property. As you can see by the ravine behind you, it's an exquisite design. You couldn't tell whether you were here in the lovely town of Burlington or whether you were in somewhere up in Muskoka. The interesting part about this particular viewpoint is that most homeowners, most people doing a design build, at least in our experience, have come from either a side split, but most predominantly an older bungalow where they've never seen this height. So this is an accessory view that they've never seen. So unless they've been standing on their roof taking pictures, they never get a chance to really see this dynamic behind us. I want to talk a little bit about windows while we're here. Pollard is actually the window company of choice for Stone Mill. And this is the Liberty series that you see here, which is a high-end finish for Pollard windows. That goes all the way through our house, and they're a 25-year guarantee, warranty window, low E argon gas throughout. And this door system that you see here is a fairly new product in the last couple of years for Pollard, but it's been very successful for Stone Mill. And what you're seeing is these doors that can open this way out, and they open up to kind of give you that egress. And what you're seeing here is the door system can be anywhere from 6 feet to 16 feet, giving you an 8-foot opening. So whether we're down in the family room area or whether we're up here in the master bedroom, you create this kind of situation. So if the builder knows where your bed's going to go, it's not unusual for them to actually put in reading lights where possible. So that would avoid you having to have bedside lamps on either side. It's a nice feature. It's something that if you're big readers, as many of our clients are, just works out that way. You will actually see that this gives you an extra set of lighting throughout the room. The room is really designed to be an oasis. In Stone Mill's design, where possible, we realize that we're building for families, and we situate those rooms wonderfully well, but in some cases, we're really trying to create a parent retreat. So when we go from a room like this, it's further away from the house, it's further away from the noise, the hustle and bustle, etc. It's a nice room, it's comfortable, it can have beautiful views, and it can also have a wonderful spa oasis in the master bath. So let's head there now. This is the parental spa, or the master ensuite bath. What you'll see as a standard feature for a Stone Mill is this 6-foot jetted tub that comes in here. Also our shower assembly that you'll see through here. Now there's a couple of upgrades in this particular shower, but some standard features for Stone Mill, obviously as I mentioned, is the porcelain or the ceramic surround that you would see in your shower. Certainly this would be all glass with a glass door along here. This particular shower actually has included the multiple shower heads that you see on the far side. We've done this on several different homes, and the clients that have it love it. It's an additional feature, approximately around the $2,500 range. This particular room is also set up to be a steam room. Yes, you'll see the seat here, and you'll see the different tile that will be available that this room will enclose. You'll see some of the spigots, etc. through here to really give you this extra feature of the steam room. Again, approximately around the $2,500 mark. It's not unusual for our clients to also put radiant heat, in-floor heating throughout this particular area as well. Now, in a lot of cases, what we're doing in this particular area is that we've got this wonderful space. You'll see the double sinks, which is his and hers, but then we'll have a passageway through to the walk-in closet. In this case, they've actually generated a pocket door to separate the two rooms. We get people that actually want to keep the closets outside of the bathroom area, so we would walk through a corridor, there would be his and hers closets on either side, and then into a bathroom. And other people who are actually doing this, where they want to step out of the shower, they've done their morning routine, and right into their closet. Where possible and where we can, we try to generate an opening window in that walk-in closet. It just kind of that fresh air, being able to open it up, freshens up the clothes, etc. in that particular area. Stone Mill fireplaces. Let me tell you that our standard firebox area is about 36 inches. And much like a flat screen television, we measure it diagonally. So this particular case, this fireplace has got an oversized firebox. It's a gas fireplace. Typically that is the product that we put in. We haven't put in wood fireplaces in quite some time. Not to say we can't. It's just something that more people like the convenience of on, off. As far as mantling, we have a number of different ways to kind of have a treatment around that fireplace. We can do a mantle height, we can do it with a tile around it or a drywall around it. We can center the fireplace more in the center at a higher level. We can build an area above it, some built-ins on the side. Or in this particular case, this homeowner has opted for an extra feature, this masonry that you see here. This is about approximately an $8,000 to $10,000 extra feature that they would have had done for their particular home. So Stone Mill Developments and Stone Mill Realty want to thank you for actually going through this process with us. This is an educational format, and on a regular basis, probably on a monthly basis, Stone Mill does have in-home tours of the products that we're building, really at the generosity of the homeowners that we've been building for. And we feel that's important because when you're actually spending any kind of money to build or to renovate a home, you want to be able to see exactly what you're getting for the money. So part of our tour is to kind of walk through and to show you the types of finishes, the quality of work, the quality of craftsmanship that Stone Mill puts into each and every one of the houses we build and renovations that we do. We do welcome you to look at our websites. stonemill.ca is our development site, and you'll notice that there's a couple of different features on that website. Some information about us and how we build and our design process, as well as a banner link to our radio program that we do on Saturday mornings that really highlights a lot of the different specialists and people who are involved in the design build process with us. My name is Ron James. I'm Real Estate's Most Wanted for Stone Mill Developments and Stone Mill Realty. I thank you.
You just feel uneasy when you're demolishing something in somebody's home that, you know, they've been in for 50 years. Surprisingly enough, our customers are excited. Kids take time off school, they're videotaping it. They're excited about the new home that's going to be coming on. So they've lived in that bungalow for several years, and they're tired of the leaky roof and the leaky basement and all its flaws, and they're excited. They're looking forward to the new build.